The Bold and the Beautiful preview for the week of December 22nd reveals Thomas Forrester will make an enthusiastic pitch to Hope Spencer. Also coming up, Brooke Forrester will be confused. Plus, Will Spencer and Electra Forrester will make a surprising offer. B&B spoilers tease Dylan will hang out with Will and Electra at the beach house. The trio will get along so well that Will's going to invite her to spend the night. Dylan will be taken aback and ask if he's sure. "I'd love to spend more time with you," Electra replies in the B&B weekly preview. But is Dylan the sweet, kind girl she appears to be? Or does she have some kind of hidden agenda? Also taking place at the beach house, John Finnegan will provide a treat for the eyes. The preview shows the shirtless, hunky doctor showering on the outdoor patio. Meanwhile, Brooke and Ridge Forrester will pay Katie Spencer and Bill Spencer a visit at their family company. Brooke will spot something and ask what it is. "That's the name of my new fashion house," Katie will reply. But what will it be? Finally, Thomas will reconnect with Hope at Forrester Creations. She's been feeling uncomfortable about working with him again. After all, she cheated on Liam Spencer with Thomas and they became romantically involved. However, Thomas will try to calm Hope's nerves. "I still think about those times, us creating together," he'll say, and Hope will smile at him. "That's what I want to bring back." As viewers know, Hope just happily remarried Liam last week. But could she end up being tempted by Thomas again? Hey B&B fans, are you enjoying the latest CBS Sudzer Beyond the Gates? Then make sure you join our free Facebook group. Keep reading the Soap Scoop, your source for the latest soap opera spoilers and B&B spoilers and news. And make sure to also join our B&B Facebook group. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Bold and the Beautiful online at cbs.com. This week on The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill Spencer placed himself at the heart of the #1 story. Katie's defection from Forrester Creations has been the most talked about plot, and none of it would have been possible without him. His actions set everything in motion for the rest of the week, with their rippling effect affecting every episode. Don DeMont portrayed Bill in a way that balanced newfound warmth with his traditional sense of authority, hinting that Bill's choices would continue to have major meaning for the canvas over the next several weeks. The story felt grounded, yet maintained its forward momentum thanks to DeMont, who delivered work that made Bill feel like an essential player again, earning him this week's honors. Bill's proposal to Katie changed the show's entire landscape. Despite coming off as potentially impulsive, it quickly became clear that he knew exactly what he wanted, and he was seizing the moment. Diamont played the moment with Bill's typical confidence, but there was also a layer of vulnerability that made it feel like their nuptials were earned. It felt like Bill deserved this win, and in the past, it had been hard to root for him. Bill chose Katie, and that is all there was to it. The marriage took Bill from master puppeteer to a true partner for her, and it actually felt romantic. Their surprise wedding raised the emotional stakes of the entire week and set the stage for her inevitable departure from Forrester. Somehow, the wedding felt more legitimate than Hope and Liam's reunion, and it has to be at least somewhat attributed to Diamont, playing the scene in expert fashion. He didn't overact, which made it feel more raw and real, and less theatrical. Besides the wedding, Bill was Katie's emotional anchor throughout the entire week of episodes. He was consistently reminding his new bride of her self-worth. In moments when Katie doubted herself, he was there to lift her up. Diamant's facial reactions and tone reflected the audience's feelings, with so many growing and tired of Brooke and Ridge's vice grip on Forrester Creations. He didn't overshadow Katie. Instead, he gave her true support. In the span of 5 episodes, the actor shifted from romantic lead to supportive new husband to business strategist, listing all the reasons Katie could turn her new fashion house into a success. How Bill proceeds is dependent entirely on how Forrester Creations treats Katie on her way out. Brooke appeared to be somewhat supportive on Friday's all-new episode, even if some of her well-wishes felt more like backhanded compliments. However, Ridge's disdain for Bill is likely to affect how he reacts when Katie walks away from Forrester to essentially become the competition. He loathes the man, and he believes that Katie has lowered her standards by welcoming him back into her life. Bill is undertaking a massive financial gamble by backing Katie with this new business venture. Being a supportive spouse is key to a successful marriage, but for someone who holds money in such high regard, he's willing to part with it quickly for Katie's benefit. It wouldn't be a shock if he ramped up the pressure on his son, Will Ye, as well. He doesn't think that Forrester is the right fit for the heir to his fortune, and he has already made several comments about Will being better off at Spencer. Now that Katie is leaving the company, there's no better time for his son to follow suit. This week's B&B will have Katie once again leaving Brooke stunned, while Thomas makes a plea to Hope. December 22nd and 26th will be filled with many surprises and decisions on The Bold and the Beautiful. This week's video hints that one character's business decision stuns other, while one couple might have added trouble to their relationship. Here's a sneak peek of what's ahead. Last week, Katie revealed her plans for a fashion house to Brooke. Although Brooke was stunned, she supported her sister's new endeavor. Brooke doesn't waste any time in telling Ridge, who'll be shocked and perhaps a bit angry. The couple decides to scope out their competition when they pay a visit to Katie and Bill. Katie will have much explaining to do as Brooke and Ridge ask questions about her fashion house. When Katie unveils the name of her fashion house, it leaves Brooke stunned. It's unclear if Brooke is pleased or unhappy with the name, but one thing is for certain. Katie's fashion house will not only spark a Forrester Creations war, but also a potential rivalry with her sister. Hope had to deliver the heartbreaking news to her brother Deke that he was fired from FC. With Deke gone, Hope for the future will now have Thomas as its lead designer. It's a decision Hope is uncomfortable with, but she might end up changing her mind. Hope and Thomas finally meet after his latest return. When Hope expresses hesitation about working together, Thomas is quick to remind her about their previous collaborations. Thomas says he still thinks about those times of them creating together, and he wants to bring that back. Thomas' speech leaves Hope intrigued, and she might reconsider her stance on them working together. While there's no doubt Thope will make HFTF a success, one has to question if Thomas has an ulterior motive. Does he really care about the fashion line, or is he using it as a way to reunite with Hope? Electra is keeping her promise to look after Dylan. The preschool teacher is still traumatized after accidentally running over Luna. Electra decides to take Dylan's mind off the incident with a day at the beach. Electra and Will invite Dylan to hang out at the beach house. The trio are having a fun and relaxing day and soon lose track of time. Instead of going home, Will suggests that Dylan spend the night. Dylan is surprised and asks if they're sure it's okay. Electra says she'd love for Dylan to stay so they can spend more time together. But will it be an idea that Electra and Will regret? Speculation is that Dylan has a dark side, and Will's invitation could unleash her inner bad girl. What's supposed to be a fun evening at the beach house could turn into a nightmare for Will and Electra. Here's the full recap of what happened on The Bold and the Beautiful on Friday, December 19th, 2025. As Katie prepared to take the next step in her career, Will continued to express joy for his mother getting her own fashion house. However, Katie had significant apprehension about breaking the news to Brooke. She needed to tell Brooke and Donna as soon as possible, and Bill encouraged her to put her own needs first and worry about everyone else second. She thanked the two men in her life for their support. Katie believed that Brooke would be happy for her once she heard her out. After she left for Forrester, Will and Bill touted Katie's talents. Both men believed it was her moment to shine and get out from underneath the Brooke and Ridge regime that terrorized Forrester Creations. The fallout of Thomas returning to Forrester continued as Steffi told Hope that her brother's services were no longer needed. She agreed he had a future in the industry, but not at Forrester Creations. Hope was baffled that her brother was being let go. Steffi didn't think there was any room for Deke at the company, since Thomas was back in the mix. Hope asked whether she had any say in what happened with her own fashion line. Thomas found Deke's involvement to be unnecessary, and Hope grew angry. She thought it came out of nowhere. Thomas showed up, reinserted himself into the conversation, and everything changed. She urged Steffi to reconsider, and all he wanted was a chance at success. Steffi asked if Hope's only issues were about Deke being fired. Hope admitted she was uncomfortable working with Thomas again, and felt as if Liam would feel the same. Steffi refused to make business decisions based on Hope's feelings. There was no room for Deke, and she wouldn't budge. Steffi asked Hope to break the news to her brother that his biggest dreams had been crushed and that he was out of a job. Carter reviewed Deke's designs and encouraged the young designer to keep at it. Deke requested the meeting to discuss his future with the company. Carter was surprised that Deke asked him about his plan for him at Forrester. Deke appreciated it, and he knew that there was no guarantee that any of his lines would go into production. Hope joined Deke in the design room, and he droned on about one of his designs. He was thrilled at the idea of one of his creations making the journey from paper to the runway. She cut him off mid-sentence to break the unfortunate news to him. Although she loved seeing how much joy designing brought him, she needed to tell him about the content of her meeting with Steffi. He asked whether they had given him a permanent position on the line, and she looked him in the eyes with a heartbreaking stare that only a sister could give. Before Hope dove into the news, she told Deke that although he was tremendously talented, Zende and Thomas were already attached to it, so the company wouldn't renew his contract. Hope tried to advocate for her brother, but Steffi didn't give her a voice in the matter. Deke understood that he was so new to the business, so it was far-fetched that he even made it this far. He took the news well, but Hope was utterly heartbroken. Deke was grateful for the opportunity to gain experience in the industry, so regardless of the outcome, he felt at peace. Carter cautioned him that a lot was riding on the revival of Hope's line, so they needed the best fit possible. Ridge met with Brooke at the showroom to deliver the bad news that Deke was being let go from the company. He believed Thomas returning to the line was best for the health of Forrester moving forward. They both liked Deke, but the truth was that he was too green for such a prominent line. Brooke understood where her husband was coming from, but she questioned the idea of Steffi delivering the news. The idea of Hope's brother getting the boot to make way for Steffi's brother was bound to meet resistance. Ridge returned to the CEO's office to ask Steffi how Hope took the news. They both believed that Deke needed more experience under his belt. Steffi said Hope should be happy that her line existed in the first place, especially with how much money they poured into it. They hated being forced to crush Deke's dreams, but it was the best move for the company. Katie arrived at Forrester, and she needed to speak with Brooke about something urgent. She reminded Brooke that Bill was known for grand gestures, and this time, the wedding present exceeded any gift he'd ever given. Brooke assumed it was something flashy, like a tiara. However, Katie made her sister's jaw drop and revealed that it was a fashion house. Brooke thought it sounded crazy, and she told her sister how difficult an undertaking that it was. Katie stood her ground and believed she was up for the challenge. Bill thought that Katie would thrive in the role, and she told Brooke that it would exist under the Spencer umbrella. Brooke was concerned that Katie wasn't ready to dive into something as extensive as building a brand from the ground up. Katie was committed. She wanted Brooke to be the first to know. This was the next step in her future, and she respected her sister enough to give her a heads up first. Brooke didn't think this was something that Katie wanted for herself. She seemed poised to relegate the entire thing to something that Bill thrust upon her. Brooke asked what she would name the new fashion line, and Katie asked for her sister's input. Katie vowed not to disrespect Forrester Creations, but she believed there was a glass ceiling for her. Her only wish was that her departure wouldn't impact Will's job at the company. Despite being thrilled for her sister's next chapter, she enjoyed working with her. Katie's experience was rooted in PR, so this was going to be much more extensive than anything she had done prior. Brooke confessed that she was worried. However, she knew she needed to accept it and support her sister. She agreed to stand by Katie's side. All Katie needed now was a design team to help her get things up and running. Many of the B&B cast and crew are whizzes in the kitchen. The bold and the beautiful staff were treated to many delicious meals during their annual holiday celebration. The show hosted a potluck dinner where many of the cast and crew proved their culinary experts. The B&B cast and crew have been working hard all year. But with the holidays near, it was time for everyone to relax and have fun. Before going on Christmas break, the staff gathered for a potluck dinner where everyone brought a dish. On B&B's official Instagram page, fans got a look at the festivities and what meals were served. Annika Noel and Linnea Grace were a few of the cast members whipped up something special. Noel opted for snowman sugar cookies, while Grace brought mac and cheese along with soda. As for their co-star Sean Kanan, the actor brought a La Scala chopped salad. While the cast did an excellent job with their dishes, the crew might have outshined them. B&B's executive producer Casey Kaspchik brought a 7-layer dip, while stage manager Herb baked a peach cobbler. Alexis and Carly, 2 members of the hair and makeup department, kept it simple with a vegetable tray. Guests continued showing off their dishes as they arrived for the party. Among the delicious treats served was a honey-baked ham, apple pie, homemade chocolate chip cookies, and buffalo chicken dip. One crew member named Chris didn't bring a dish, but did bring a table to set all the food on. The potluck dinner was certainly a fun time for B&B's cast and crew. It also left some fans jealous. In the comment section of the video, fans expressed their wish to be part of the potluck. "Everything looks yummy! Quite the spread," wrote one viewer. "I want a tamale, peach cobbler, banana pudding, brownie, and I want to taste Electra's mac and cheese," one commenter replied. "I must have misplaced my invite," joked one fan. Some commenters also suggested that a few special dishes were missing. "Where are Pam's lemon squares?" wrote one fan. Former B&B actress Lisa Yamada asked, "Does anyone want mints?" Although Pam's lemon squares and Luna's mints were missing from the potluck, it was still a joyful party. After getting their stomachs full, the cast and crew can enjoy winter break before they return for a drama-filled B&B in 2026. Hope doesn't get a say in who designs her line, and her friendship with Steffi is on the rocks. On The Bold and the Beautiful, December 19th, 2025, Hope got the same treatment as Katie. She doesn't get a say in who should be the lead designer of her line. Steffi informed her that Deke had been fired since Thomas had returned to reclaim his place. At the office, Steffi asked Hope to meet with her. Hope admitted they haven't discussed who the lead designer should be. Steffi told her that she and Ridge had already made the decision without consulting her. Hope mentioned her brother Deke, but Steffi said it was only on a trial basis. Hope reminded Steffi that it was her line. Steffi told her that she's the co-CEO, so she has the final say. Hope wondered if she had a say at all. It sounded like she's getting the Katie treatment. Katie hasn't gotten a say in how Forrester Creations has handled PR matters lately. As a result, she feels undervalued. So, Bill gifted her a fashion house to persuade her to reconsider her position at Forrester. Katie has been mulling over his offer. Like Hope, Katie feels that her voice isn't being heard. According to her and Bill, it's been the Brooke and Ridge show. They've been calling the shots lately and not consulting Katie, especially when it comes to PR. They hired an outside crisis management team to handle the news of Luna's death, as she had been an FC intern years ago. However, what Katie didn't like was that they didn't inform her of how it would be handled. She was fine with someone else handling it. The thing is, she would have liked to have been consulted on some of the matters. It's as if her opinion didn't matter, even though she runs PR. Now, the same is happening for Hope. Though she's the face of Hope for the future, she doesn't get a final say on her line and what direction it should go in. That's because the Forresters want the numbers to do well this time around. The only times this line did well were when Thomas was in charge. But Deke could have brought a fresh perspective if he had been given the chance. Katie is making the leap, Will Hope. Was he not given a fair chance? Deke might have gotten a raw deal on The Bold and the Beautiful. He was hired on as the lead designer of Hope for the Future. However, it has now been revealed that he's working on a trial basis. On Thursday's episode, Deke asked Hope about his designs for Hope for the Future. She assured him that his designs were good, but it's concerning him that none of his designs have gone into production yet. Deke admitted that he was nervous about his future. Will he be able to work on his sister's couture collection? Hope reminded Deke that he was hired because he's talented. He said he wouldn't worry about his future, but now it's in the back of his mind. Deke wanted to be the right designer for her collection, but he understood why Zendi's designs were picked over his. Hope said that he had the Forrester name, but added that there's room for both Forresters and Sharps. She assured him to keep submitting designs and doing good work, and she would keep an eye out for him. However, that might be impossible since Zendi and Thomas want to collaborate on Hope for the Future together. Deke told Hope that he didn't want to get hired because of his name. That's why he sneaked his portfolio into Forrester Creations. He didn't want anyone to know that he was associated with her. He wanted to get hired based on his merit. At first, it sounded like he landed the role as lead designer of Hope for the Future, a significant position for someone who had just graduated from design school. However, it was later revealed that Deke had been hired on a trial basis, meaning that if none of his designs went into production, he risked losing his job. It makes sense for Deke to be hired on a trial basis, as he's new. He's just finding his footing as a designer. Thomas is a seasoned designer who's helped revive Hope for the Future in the past. The numbers spoke for themselves.